Most of you, we've never worked together before, and that's an issue. I met a couple of friends in the hall. What are you doing here? And what are you doing here? Well, it suggests that there is a disconnect that we need to address. There are allies that belong in this place who don't know that this high-speed rail conference exists and how to connect to this movement. And even though, Kevin, all politics are local, leaders at their best must move beyond their local politics with a vision. Dr. King had a car, so why would he be involved in Rosa Parks going to the back of the bus? His vision was beyond his own personal comfort. He saw something bigger than just his access to a ride. He saw the whole issue of public transportation and the law. Most of our allies who should be with us politically have cars, and they've not yet made the connection. I had an experience a few months ago. It was a rather embarrassing experience because I usually go back and forth from where I live on south side of Chicago to O'Hara, luggage and moving and catching airplanes. And I came back about 3 months ago and I had a 4 o'clock meeting downtown with the governor. And we had not been able to make connection for some time, so it was a very important meeting to what we were doing. And the plane was 2 hours late leaving Washington. I got from Washington to Chicago in an hour and 20 minutes. It landed at 2:45. So there I stood in the airport at 3 o'clock with a 2-hour drive to downtown. I would have missed my meeting. And so I dashed over and caught the train from O'Hara to downtown, 20 minutes. And as we passed along all of that congested traffic, where I would have been, I felt stupid. Why would I have missed a 20-minute train ride in the first place for a 2-hour ride, kind of slow-moving parking lot? Just an idea, and those of us who are our strongest potential allies, who intellectually appreciate this meeting, have no real gut connection to the ramifications of the connectivity that this represents. Two of the major changes in our country came when we wrapped it in a different package. They wrapped Interstate Highway in as a national security matter. It's not just a luxury to have interstate, but it was a national security matter and became part of our national interest. It transcended parties and religion and race. It made us better, it made us more skilled. And I was in the Persian Gulf in Qatar, the conference a few days ago, and they're preparing to build high-speed rail. And throughout the Persian Gulf, high-speed rail. And I looked at the people selling us gas and oil, and they're using high-speed rail. It reminded me so much of when they had the hearing in Washington with the cigarette companies. And then all the major cigarette manufacturers on the witness stand asked how many of them smoked. No cigarette manufacturer smoked. They were selling cigarettes. The people selling oil are using high-speed rail. Y'all get the point? like they kind of get it. And we took a 10-city tour last year around the country, the American Transit Union, which kind of quickened my insights. We started off in Boston. And we came down to New York and Washington and Atlanta and Miami and around the country where they were laying off rail workers, laying off drivers and increasing the fares and cutting the services. And what became patently clear in that tour is that the rallies, while meaningful, were all too small because the union had organized everybody except the riders. They organized the press and organized each other, but then I organized the people who stand to benefit the most from easy access to rail. And also we found the strongest lobby in these states is the cement and bridge lobby, who fight the rail lobby. If we build a high-speed rail, we can make the rail in Birmingham and in Pittsburgh and in Gary. So we took our case to Alabama, where Shelby was just against the idea. We talking about how you connect Birmingham and Montgomery and Mobile and Atlanta, and we can make the steel in Birmingham. We changed the discussion, because there are those who are kind of gutturally against the idea, talking about workers and union workers and diversity of contracts. He saw the advantages of connecting Atlanta and Montgomery and Birmingham and Mobile and New Orleans. All of a sudden, a different constituency arose because they knew better. We had taught them the value of the high-speed rail connection. And people who stand to benefit have not been aroused. So that if the people who don't have access to jobs and contracts, if the mayors who stand to gain from having a vibrant, revitalized tax base, if they're in the mix, let's be mass actions. And maybe mass marches precede mass fast rail, because the people must be aroused to appreciate what you're saying. I think too few people know about this, who stand to gain from this. Here in Chicago, the train stops at 95th Street. Chicago goes to 135th Street. The train stops at O'Hare. The jobs are northwest of O'Hare. So you have these huge pockets of poverty. People have to get a ride somehow from Altgeld Garden to 95th Street, and that costs. And then it's $2.25 one way on the train or the bus, $2.25, $4.50 a day. If you're on welfare, you can't own a car. If you park a car, it's $5 an hour, $35 a day. And so without access to private transportation, and don't have adequate access to public transportation, they can't get to work. And they're locked into poverty and welfare. So we despise welfare and lock people away from jobs. We are long and loud in protesting the high price of oil and gas and the Middle East connection, and yet we keep feeding them with more highway and more bridges and less rail and less high-speed cars. And that, to me, are the battle lines that we have to draw. The driving force today behind resegregation and poverty is the issue of mass transit. And I think I was talking with some bus drivers who do not see themselves as green drivers. They see themselves as greasy, but they really are green. I mean, 120 people on a train as opposed to 120 people driving cars, it's pretty green. 60 folk on the bus as opposed to 60 cars is green. So even the language of debt is getting greater to countries who supply more oil than they use. If that's true, then this is really a national security issue. It makes us less dependent upon foreign oil. It makes us more energy efficient. It makes us have more clean air to breathe. We cannot lose this fight if we fight it. We've never lost a good fight unless we fought it. And we've never lost a fight that we did fight. This fight of easier access to rail, transportation, energy, environment, economic growth. The reason why it transcends these racial and political lines is that and in some sense, what mass high-speed rail does, it evens the playing field. We can't all have more access to jobs and contracts and growth, and that becomes the reason why the business people are here, because what it means, even with the rail in central Illinois, we live in Chicago. What does it mean in Chicago and East St. Louis? It too must be a part of that mix. I'm anxious for us to, because let's turn this mass trail and mass transit into a high energy economic growth national security issue. Thank you very much.